Aloha! This is Lesson 70 from A Course in Miracles with Hope Johnson. My salvation comes from me. All temptation is nothing more than some form of the basic temptation not to believe the idea for today. Salvation seems to come from anywhere except from you. So too does the source of guilt. You see neither guilt nor salvation as in your own mind and nowhere else. When you realize that all guilt is solely an invention of your mind, you also realize that guilt and salvation must be in the same place. In understanding this, you are saved. The seeming cost of accepting today's idea is this. It means that nothing outside yourself can save you. Nothing outside yourself can give you peace. But it also means that nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. Today's idea places you in charge of the universe, where you belong because of what you are. This is not a role that can be partially accepted, and you must surely begin to see that accepting it is salvation. It may not, however, be clear to you why the recognition that guilt is in your own mind entails the realization that salvation is there as well. God would not have put the remedy for the sickness where it cannot help. That is the way your mind has worked, but hardly His. He wants you to be healed. So He has kept the source of healing where the need for healing lies. You have tried to do just the opposite, making every attempt, however distorted and fantastic it may be, to separate healing from the sickness for which it was intended, and thus keep the sickness. Your purpose was to ensure that healing did not occur. God's purpose was to ensure that it did. Today we practice realizing that God's will and ours are really the same in this. God wants us to be healed, and we do not really want to be sick because it makes us unhappy. Therefore, in accepting the idea for today, we are really in agreement with God. He does not want us to be sick, neither do we. He wants us to be healed, so do we. We are ready for 2 longer practice periods today, each of which should last some 10 to 15 minutes. We will, however, still let you decide when to undertake them. We will follow this practice for a number of lessons, and it would again be well to decide in advance when would be a good time to lay aside for each of them, and then adhering to your own decisions as closely as possible. Begin these practice periods by repeating the idea for today, adding a statement signifying your recognition that salvation comes from nothing outside of you. You might put it this way: my salvation comes from me. It cannot come from anywhere else. Then devote a few minutes with your eyes closed to review some of the external places where you have looked for salvation in the past, in other people, in possessions, in various situations and events, and in self-concepts that you sought to make real. Recognize that it is not there, and tell yourself, my salvation cannot come from any of these things. My salvation comes from me and only me. Now we will try again to reach the light in you, which is where your salvation is. You cannot find it in the clouds that surround the light, and it is in them you have been looking for it. It is not there. It is past the clouds and in the light beyond. Remember that you will have to go through the clouds before you can reach the light. But remember also that you have never found anything in the cloud patterns you imagined that endured or that you wanted. Since all illusions of salvation have failed you, surely you do not want to remain in the clouds, looking vainly for idols there, when you could so easily walk into the light of real salvation. Try to pass the clouds by whatever means appeals to you. If it helps you, think of me holding your hand and leading you, and I assure you, this will be no idle fantasy. For the short and frequent practice periods today, remind yourself that your salvation comes from you, and nothing but your own thoughts can hamper your progress. You are free from all external interference. You are in charge of your salvation. You are in charge of the salvation of the world. Say then, my salvation comes from me. Nothing outside of me can hold me back. Within me is the world's salvation and my own. Whew. It's so fun that I'm seeing this now, especially the last part here about nothing outside of me can hold me back. It was interesting. I was just having a conversation with my husband, Tony, last night about how I'm seeing all these thought projections about how he's holding me back. It was exactly that. And, he asked me about the thought projections, and I shared a couple of them with him. And I noticed him get defensive of them. And I said, hey, they're not real. You're not doing anything but loving me. You're not doing anything but loving. These are thought projections that I'm seeing, that I'm noticing, that are not real. I'm denying any meaning to these things. All right? So it was interesting because when it was brought to the light like that, the thought pattern, because he's like, I noticed something. I noticed kind of like a barrier, like a wall between us. And I looked in my mind and I go, yeah, I'm forgiving right now. That's what I said. I'm forgiving right now. And when we looked on the patterns together and, just said, these are patterns. Like there's nothing to discuss about them or anything. Nothing to change about our relating. He asked me, is there anything I can change? And I was like, I can't see anything that I would want you to change. That just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't make sense to me. It's like, I want the same thing that you want. I want the peace of God. And, this lesson, my salvation comes from me. So we saw it together and really both got so much relief and more closeness, like brotherhood arises, this really close brotherhood and an endearing quality in relating, because these barriers are just thought projections, and they especially arise through long-term relatings where they just go unseen and they get buried in the mind, and they just come out and make these walls between people. And there's no need for that, because my salvation comes from me. So there's one really interesting part here about how the guilt, recognition that guilt is in your own mind. Okay, so look, guilt, when it says guilt, it's talking about any upset feeling. This is any upset feeling. A lot of the times guilt goes unrecognized. It's any upset feeling. Like the example I gave you last night, I was projecting guilt onto my husband as if he's holding me back, right? That might go unrecognized, just this uncomfortable feeling. I don't really like hanging out with this person. I'm not sure why, Look into your mind. Look at what's going on. That's guilt, okay? God put the remedy for the sickness. This is sickness whenever you feel unwell, emotionally or anything, anxious, anything like that. Sickness. God put the remedy where the sickness is. The sickness is in the mind, even if it's manifesting as a physical. That's manifestation of an upset feeling. That's what sickness is. So, the cause of the upset feeling in the first place is a thought that's hurting you, or a train of thoughts, let's say. And God put the remedy there in the mind. It's in the same place where you find where the sickness can be found. It's in the mind. So the remedy for it is another thought, a thought of truth. These thoughts of truth allow you to move through the clouds, what's being called the clouds. Clouds are patterns of thoughts. These patterns of thoughts, they tempt you to pay attention to them instead of going past them, going through them. So knowing that your salvation comes from you and doing this practice, looking for the light again, noticing like your own thoughts, like, whoa, thoughts arise. These are the clouds. These are the clouds. Okay, here's this thought about this. Okay, that is blocking my salvation right now. That's blocking my salvation. So it's kind of like, may I please move past that? Sometimes I just ask like that. May I please move past that? And of course the answer is yes, right? And it comes from me. My salvation cannot come from the things in the field, the things that are swirling around, the clouds that are swirling around, let's say, for this example. Clouds that are swirling around the light that I am. My salvation cannot come from those thoughts. It can only come from me being willing to move past them. Whenever I found myself asking, may I move past these, or may I be released from these? It comes back to, are you willing? Because that's what it is. Are you willing to be released from it? And for me, like being released from some of these patterns, it's almost like this sadness arises, like almost like I'm losing something valuable, but noticing that the pattern is not valuable. That thought pattern is not valuable to me. So the way that looks to me, like, let's say, I want a romantic and passionate relationship with someone. Let's say that thought, that train of thought, that's a cloud that circulates, right? So it's like, am I willing to be released from that particular pattern, like that's saying that I want something, and be released past that? Because it's like, it's not in that pattern. I'm not going to find it in that pattern. Like the passionate sex, romance, all that kind of stuff might arise anyways, but it's not going to bring me the peace of God, which is what I want. So pursuing the pattern is just like dead. There's nothing to pursue about it. So it's like you're seeing it in light of reason. The reason is my salvation cannot come from these things. My salvation only comes from me. It comes from me recognizing that these things can't lead to what I want, and actively choosing to move past them, to move through them in gentleness, laying them down in gentleness. Whatever sadness comes up, just letting that be embraced. Enjoy moving through the clouds in a gentle and joyful way. Have a beautiful practice. Ahui ho, I love you.